Hi, I'd love to play the therapist today. I love this game.
Oh, good. All right, go ahead.
The best of the week on Relevant Radio.
Hey, so good to be with you today. I feel flattered and blessed to be able to spend an hour with you talking about all things marriage related on Marriage Unhindered. Today, we're going to let you be the therapist. We're going to play You Be the Therapist. So I have two problem marriages that I'm going to tell you about, and then give you a chance to call in and tell me what you would do if you're the therapist. You get to analyze what you think the real problem is and figure out next steps. Could be a lot of fun. All right, so here we go. Here's our two case studies. The first one is, I love my wife, but I'm unhappy. Second one is, my husband doesn't contribute financially to the household, and it's making me resentful. All right, we got a deadbeat husband and not sure what's going wrong with the wife. So let's check this out. All right, so I love my wife, but I'm unhappy. My wife and I, both 23 years of age, have been married for almost a year. We fought on our honeymoon and didn't sleep in the same bed one night. Interesting. I don't know if that means there was one night they didn't sleep in the same bed or the entire honeymoon they didn't sleep in the same bed. Anyway, at least one night apart on the honeymoon. It's just progressed from there. Every argument boils down to something that I've done wrong. I always sound upset or I'm never happy. I don't understand where any of it's coming from, and no matter how many times I work on it, we argue about the same thing but 5 times worse. I'm tired of always being the problem. If I tell her she sounds upset, then it's always, yeah, I'm upset because you did, blah, blah, blah. I just can't handle it anymore. I love her to death, but I'm feeling myself not caring anymore and even being unhappy. I want the life we always talked about, but I seriously cannot handle this for the rest of my life. I'm so disconnected, I just don't know what to do anymore. All right, so there, I love my wife, but I'm unhappy. And it seems like wife is chronically complaining and blaming the husband, and he's never doing anything right, and he's getting overwhelmed. What would you do in that case? How would you analyze that? What's the real problem? What's really going on here? Married less than a year, got in a big fight on the honeymoon, slept apart at least one night on the honeymoon, and it's gotten worse since then. So this first year is off to a pretty rocky start. Now, that's not unusual. First-year adjustments can be pretty difficult. So what would you do? Wife chronically complaining and husband getting tired of always being to blame. I love my wife, but I'm unhappy. Okay, case study number 1. Case study number 2. My husband doesn't contribute financially to the household, and it's making me resentful. All right. Husband and me, both in our mid-30s, have been together for about 15 years. He's always been bouncing around to jobs, and then he started having bouts of unemployment during the marriage, and now we have a toddler, and he's still doing it. It has just made me start growing resentful of him. He recently started a new venture after much prodding, but he doesn't take it seriously, and although he helps out at home and with our son, I don't want to be paying all the bills. At this point, he's just breaking even, so there's still no money coming in. He always speaks of these grand plans, but he doesn't do anything to achieve them. And he's always saying he's staying flexible so he can be there for our son. As a Christian, the decision to separate/end my marriage is another hurdle because apart from the financial contribution, he's a great guy. I'm just not sure why he doesn't want to provide for his family financially. I had to take a part-time job to meet the rent. I'm really feeling guilty for missing any red flags I did before marriage surrounding this, and also scared of starting over and breaking up our marriage and family. All right, so husband doesn't contribute anything financially to the household, and wife is getting upset, mid-30s, 15 years together. And he keeps going through one job after another. Now it sounds like he started his own business, perhaps, still isn't making any money to contribute towards the bills. And the wife is getting resentful, doesn't want to end the marriage because she's a Christian, but she doesn't want to have the burden of covering these bills full time. All right, so there's the two case studies. All right, so listen, we've got a caller here. We got Michael in Detroit, got his opinion about what we should do in our case study. Hello, Michael.
My approach to both of these cases would be very similar from the outset. I'd want them to take a couple assessment inventory, and the one I'm most familiar with would be the Prepare Enrich, because that would give us some information about how they line up and how they don't line up. Mm-hmm. But I'd want to do more interviewing. So like the fellow that is not bringing in income, if he's starting out unemployed and starting a business, it's a long, long haul before you start bringing in money from starting a business.
Right.
So that needs to be understood. So I'd want to know, like, what's his background? Does he have a marketable skill? I'd want to discern what the problem is, if it's something like that versus is it, a character issue or something like that. But I wouldn't jump to character until I examine those other issues.
Well, Michael, thanks so much for your call. I appreciate that. Let's go to Sam in Houston. Hello, Sam.
Hey.
Hey.
Hi. I'd love to play the therapist today. I love this game.
Oh, good. All right. Go ahead.
Okay, so just a little bit of background. My husband and I have known each other for 20 years. We were really good friends before we got married 6 years ago.
Oh, nice.
And we've been really blessed in our marriage, but we've also had lots of financial swapping for who the breadwinner is.
Okay.
And so for the first case of the negativity, I've struggled really bad with anxiety and perfectionism. And I had a therapist tell me, well, you're really good at identifying what you did wrong during the day. But what I want you to do is at the end of every day, list 3 things that you did well.
I like it.
I think I would encourage both the husband and the wife to list 3 things that they did well themselves and 3 things that their spouse did well. And I think that after probably a month, they would see just their perspective transformed and being really positive instead of negative.
I love that. Beautiful idea.
Yeah.
Good. All right.
Oh, good. Okay. And then for the second couple, I would, just ask the wife and the husband to consider, like, where is this unhappiness coming from? Mm-hmm. And is it possible that you're looking outside at what other people have, and that's why you're not having as much gratitude for what you have yourselves? Because there are a lot of ways that both husband and wife contribute to a marriage, and financially is only one of them. So why are you so unhappy with what you have? Is there a way that you can find, like, happiness with what you have? And financial peace would probably really help them on that path.
I agree that there's lots of ways to measure someone's contribution other than just in how much money they're bringing in. So, but you get into the kind of the gender roles and all that kind of stuff, and it gets a little dicey. So I'll give you my analysis of these 2 things and what I think's going on and how I would go about it if they ended up in my office. So, or at least my thinking on it. So the first one, I love my wife, but I'm unhappy. They got in a big fight on a honeymoon, didn't sleep in the same bed at least one night, and it just progressed from there. Every argument boils down to something that I've done wrong. I always sound upset, or I'm never happy. I don't understand where any of this is coming from, et cetera, et cetera. Sounds like it might be a little gaslighting, and I'm going to talk about that here towards the end. But he says he just can't handle it anymore. Loves her to death, but he's not feeling cared for by her, and he's getting unhappy, and he wants the life they always talked about, but he can't handle the chronic complaining for the rest of his life. He feels very disconnected from her now. And that's a tragedy. They've been married less than a year, right? So, all right. So here's my thought on it. I mean, listen, if you fought on the honeymoon, the odds are that you fought prior to the marriage, to which I say, buyer beware, right? But you're in it now for better or worse. So let's figure out how to fix this thing, right? So I would start by asking some questions like, what specifically does she complain about? Is there any truth to her complaints, right? There probably is. And so maybe not 100%, but maybe a little bit. Maybe there are some things that you could do different, right? So I asked the question, whose defect is it, right? So number one, fix whatever it is you're doing that you could do better, right? So whatever it is she's complaining about, take a hard look at yourself, say, okay, well, there's some kernel of truth there. I could do a little bit better job with this, that, and the other thing. All right. Number 2, then, let's figure out why she has become a constant complainer. And there's many possible reasons, right? One, this is one way to get attention, right? So if you as the husband aren't paying much attention to her, well, one of the ways that she could get your attention is by complaining about it. Another reason would be validation, right? She's looking to be validated that she's right and that she has value and that she's adding something, and she's going about it wrong by devaluing you, but perhaps she's looking for validation. Maybe she's got misplaced anger. Maybe she's unhappy about other aspects of her life, like her job or her relationship with her mother or the house or the car, whatever, but she's taking it out on you because you're the convenient one. You're there all the time, right? That's possible. Maybe she's got a negativity habit. You know, some people are just really good at fault finding, and it can become a habit. And you might just be the recipient of her habit of fault finding, right? Perhaps she grew up in a negative home and was trained to be negative from an early age. Maybe it's just plain selfishness, you know? She wants what she wants when she wants it, and she's not getting it from you, and so by golly, she's going to let you know about it, right? So it could just be she's just a very selfish person. So here's the deal. I mean, we generally do that thing which we believe will make us happy. So what is it about her complaining and criticizing her husband that brings her joy or that makes her think it will bring her happiness, right? What is it that's going to bring her happiness? So, I mean, here's the conversation I would encourage the husband to have, right? Is sit down with her or take her to dinner or whatever and say, listen, I mean, I love you and I want to build a great life with you. You're obviously very unhappy right now, and so am I. So can we have a serious conversation about what we need to change in order to become happy again, right? Because we were happy once, so we need to, neither of us want to go through life like this. Let's have a kind of a serious conversation about what we need to do different, right? It's entirely possible that she isn't interested in changing her behavior. Her understanding of what it takes to be happily married, her judgment about happiness in marriage, and or her reasoning about how to get there may be seriously flawed. Well, if that's so, then that's good to know, because then you know what specific cross you will be carrying for the rest of your marriage, okay? That's the deal there. That's the conversation I would have. All right, so my husband doesn't contribute financially, right? So 15 years together, he's still not making enough money to contribute to any of the paying the bills, etc. Wife doesn't want to separate because of their faith and to split up the family, and says he's a great guy. Just not sure why he doesn't want to provide for the family financially. Well, there's the $64,000 question. So here's the deal. Bouncing around jobs and losing numerous jobs is both a problem and a symptom. It's a problem because you got to make money. You know, you got bills to pay, you got to eat, you got to put roof over your head. So that's a problem. But it's also a symptom, right? Going through a lot of jobs means there's something else going on wrong here for your husband. Could be a lack of maturity, you know, did his mother and father always provide for him? Or did they make him get a job when he was 16 and start paying his own way? You know, it's a sad commentary in our times that many men never really grow up. So he just could be immature. Could be a lack of responsibility. Some men aren't emotionally strong enough to assume the burdens to provide for others. They're just emotionally, crippled. That's possible. Could be low self-esteem, right? Some men lack the self-confidence to get and hold a job and take on the challenges of financial independence. They view themselves as losers or people who aren't good enough. So if they don't really try, then it can't be a failure because I really didn't try all that hard anyways because I didn't really care. They say things like, I didn't really want that job anyway, or the boss was a jerk, or, I'm getting ready for the next opportunity. Well, there's a reason why sloth is considered one of the 7 deadly sins, right? Because if you're lazy, good things don't come from that, right? So, there could be other reasons too. Who knows, right? But the bottom line is something is broken inside of him that's preventing him from assuming grown-up responsibilities. Therapy can be very helpful for a guy like this. But these types of guys generally reject therapy the unspoken fear is that they will actually find out what's broken, and then they're going to have to do the hard work to fix it, and they really don't want to do the hard work, right? So the conversation that I would encourage the wife to have is to start off, say, listen, I feel taken advantage of by your unwillingness to work on a high-paying job, and I need to start bringing in at least, name the number, $100 a month, $1,000 a month, whatever it is. I don't care how you go about it, but that's what I need. And are you willing to do that? You will most likely have a lot of excuses. This is, he's starting this new venture. It's going to take a while to build the business. Do not accept the excuses. And you just say, listen, until your ship comes in or these things get figured out, you need to go down to McDonald's and start flipping burgers because you need to bring money in, right? But the reality is you don't have much leverage other than, controlling the credit cards and the savings account and not giving him any money. That doesn't seem too workable, though, if you have a child. It's likely that this is your future. Unfortunately, you may well have married a guy who will never make much money and who you will have to support. So, a better question may be, how can you adjust to being the breadwinner without anger and resentment? You said he's a great guy. That's good. Focus on his virtues. Accept this defect that he's got. Don't let one defect sink your marriage. Satan wants you to focus on that defect. Focus on his virtues instead. All right? So there's my thoughts about that. This entire episode of Marriage Unhindered is on the updated Relevant Radio app. The Relevant Radio app is completely free and updated daily with fresh articles, podcasts, and prayers.